If the Boston Bruins are going to have any chance of coming all the way back in their series against the Panthers, they need more of that from Charlie McAvoy.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Wednesday, May 15th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And before we get started discussing a massive season-saving Game 5 win for the Boston Bruins, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes, at Ian C. McLaren. The Bruins had their backs up against the wall last night, facing elimination in Florida, but they managed to get the job done with one of their best performances of this playoff run to date, a 2-1 win over the Panthers. And we're going to talk about the importance of Jeremy Swayman, the ongoing importance of Jeremy Swayman, who has been unbelievable all playoffs long. But last night, it was Charlie McAvoy who stepped up huge for this team. Charlie McAvoy, who has been facing a lot of fair criticism over this playoff run for some miscues, some misplays with the puck, inability to get the puck on net. He did not have a shot on goal in this series prior to Game 5, and just generally not being the force that he has been in Boston's own zone and all over the ice for the majority of his career. But last night in Game 5, he was, perhaps apart from Swayman, Boston's most important player. I mentioned he did not have a shot on net prior to last night in this series. In Game 5, Charlie McAvoy recorded a team-high 6 shots on goal. He had 3 hits, 23 minutes and 26 seconds of ice time, 1 goal, which proved to be the game winner, and also a secondary assist on the game opening goal scored by Morgan Geekie. Just a massive, massive performance from a guy that the Bruins need in order to succeed. They need the best from Charlie McAvoy, and that's what they got last night in one of the biggest, if not the biggest, game of the season to date. It hasn't been an easy run for him. There's been some questions about whether or not he's fully healthy. I don't know if anybody is at this time of year, but you can see even in his face that he's been bumped. He's been bruised, but he has stepped up. And to add to that, I've mentioned several times how the Bruins, the ice has been tilted for them in the playoffs, where they have been giving up the majority of shot attempts, shots here in the playoffs. 5-on-5, the Bruins rank 14th among all the playoff teams this year so far, with a shot attempt differential of 45.62 at even strength. 45% of the total shots that have been made in their games, that's the percentage that they have. So there's a lot of attention in the defensive zone. Charlie McAvoy has been doing some heavy lifting. Yes, he's been turning the puck over, but the amount of time they're spending in the defensive zone and the amount of shots and attempts the Bruins are facing, he needs to be basically perfect in order to avoid that extra scrutiny. And it's so difficult when you're carrying those heavy minutes. But the series is now going back to a game 6 in Boston, largely because of Charlie McAvoy. And he told his teammates after the game that belief and confidence are two really strong things. We got it. We got a lot of it. And, head coach Jim Montgomery said McAvoy is extremely competitive. He's kind of quiet. He doesn't say too much, but you could see him talking a lot last night on the bench. His play was instrumental in the victory. The goal was huge for him personally. His first playoff goal, I believe, in 3 years. And just a clutch performance for Charlie McAvoy, who was awarded the team jacket for his efforts. He said after the game, he's been trying to take shots, but hasn't been able to get them to the net. He said he never lost confidence. The playoffs, it's up and down, it's emotional, and every day is a new day. That's all we're given. Trying to keep that same mindset. He said he was grateful for the opportunities and the guys that he gets to go to war with. He wants to do the best that he can. Tonight, it was good to see those shots get on net. Again, 6 shots. He did not have 1 shot on net in the 4 games prior to this one. And he summed it up by saying, never say die. We're going home. The series is wide open. Let's go home and win a hockey game. And if he continues to play like that, then the Bruins certainly have a chance in this series. Full credit to Charlie McAvoy for stepping up in the Game 5 win. He was just as important to that victory as anybody on the ice. Team high 6 shots, the game-winning goal, which, let's not forget this part, was challenged by the Florida Panthers for potential goaltender interference as Danton Heinen was mixed up in front of Sergei Bobrovsky. Now, I was pretty convinced it was going to be called back just because we don't know what goaltender interference actually is, and even the slightest little bump caused by Heinen apparently is more than what was inflicted on Jeremy Swayman when Sam Bennett cross-checked Charlie Coyle into the net. Thankfully, reason prevailed, and they did not overturn the goal, and it stood as the game winner for Charlie McAvoy and the Boston Bruins. Got the jacket last night, but that easily could have gone to Jeremy Swayman, and we'll talk about his continued importance to this team here as the podcast continues. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. They give you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. No incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonnhl or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonnhl. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. And while you're on YouTube, check out Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel with all the latest news, opinions, analysis from all over the Locked On universe, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just noticing we have a hat out of place here on the YouTube display. please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already for all Locked On Bruins content. Jeremy Swayman, what can we say about this guy? He is unflappable, and he came up huge last night after saying the series would return to Boston. Swayman made 28 saves, and that included a massive game-saving, series-saving, perhaps season-saving stop on Sam Reinhart from close range with about 8 seconds left. And the Bruins came out with the victory. Jim Montgomery said, "We have a goaltender who's extremely confident, and his swagger gives the rest of the team confidence as well." The Panthers had 15 goals on 107 shots in games 2, 3, and 4. But on Tuesday, they were held to 29 shots, and Swayman allowed only 1 goal. And you could argue that one shouldn't have gone in. He had an opportunity to gobble up the puck, and instead he batted it out. The Panthers scored. Some bad coverage on the play as well to Hampus Lindholm, to be fair. But at the end of the day, Swayman backed up what he said after Game 4. If you recall, he said, "The reality is we're going to Florida. We're going to play the same game, and we're going to get it done. I have no doubt in this group. We have a lot of confidence and a lot of motivation to bring it back to Boston." And that's exactly what is happening. The series is going back to Boston for Game 6. After Game 5, Swayman said he can't thank his mentors enough for showing him the importance of replacing the word nervous with excited and just being able to embrace those moments. A real gift it is, a rarity it is to be able to fully live in the present. Jeremy Swayman is not thinking about what happens if we lose, what happens if I let in the next goal. He's not thinking about failing. He's thinking about how exciting it is to be in this moment, to live life to the fullest. And he said he could not be happier. Now, the Panthers pulled Sergei Bobrovsky, with about 3 minutes and 5 seconds left, giving them an extended 6-on-5 situation where the Bruins, we've seen all season long, kind of failed to clear and escape those situations. The Panthers only got 3 pucks on net. Some guys were out there for multiple minutes because of some icing situations, but they were able to shut it down and did it for Swayman, giving him the support he needed, but also doing it for Brad Marchand, who was not able to play once again. He was there. We'll discuss him more in a moment, but you can't overlook the importance of Jeremy Swayman, who remains, as important to his team as anybody in the entire postseason. Yes, his numbers have taken a dip compared to the Toronto series, but he is still right up there as the top goalie remaining with a .933 save percentage. Better than Igor Shesterkin, who's at .924. Better than Jake Ottinger, who's at .923. 2 goalies whose teams are up in their series and are about to advance to the conference finals, allegedly. Swayman has been better, and finally the Bruins were able to get a good amount of shots on Sergei Bobrovsky, who was actually pretty good in last night's game as well. He came into that game with an .892 save percentage in the postseason. He actually raised that last night with the .929 mark in Game 5. He's now up to in the playoffs? He's still at 896. So Bobrovsky has proven to be beatable in these playoffs. His record is 7-3, but he's got an 896 save percentage. The Bruins were finally able to get a bunch of shots on goal. 13-4, they outshot Florida in the first period. It was 9-15 in the second, 6-10 in the third, but overall 29-28. And Jeremy Swayman just made one more save than his counterpart in order to get the win. The possession numbers were pretty even in this game. Well, the shot attempts were 60% in Florida's favor. The shots 5-on-5 were... Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong game. Sorry. The possession stats were fairly even in this game. 50% in favor of the Bruins, 41-40. The shot attempts 5-on-5. The shots, Bruins had 23. Panthers had 17 at 5-on-5. All the goals were scored at 5-on-5, 2-1. The Bruins continuing to get into some penalty trouble, which they need to cut down on. They did give the Panthers 4 power play opportunities, including a 6th too many men penalty, which is just inexplicable. And somehow at some point in the offseason, we're going to have to take a look back at that and see how is that even possible. But overall, all situations last night, the shot attempts were skewed in Florida's favor because of those power plays. The shot attempts were 57.89 in favor of the Panthers. Shots were even, 29-28, as I said. The goals, of course, the most important thing, 2-1 in favor of Boston. And high danger chances, the Bruins had 14 compared to only 8 for the Panthers, which is huge. The Bruins had a couple breakaway opportunities, including one for Jake DeBrusk. David Pastrnak all alone in front of the net, wasn't able to squeeze it past. Bobrovsky came up big with some important saves, but the Bruins got a bunch of shots on net, and that was key for them. A lot of talk coming into that one about them being a low-volume shot team. They came out flying in the first period, set the tone, and Jeremy Swayman was able to help maintain the victory with some huge, huge saves there in the third period. And they did it for Marshy, who was not able to play, but could benefit, or hopefully will benefit from this extra day of rest here in the series. And we'll discuss Marchand's importance to the team here as the podcast continues. The NHL and NBA playoffs are in full swing, and it's winner take all time, not only on the court and on the ice, but also from the comfort of your own home, because FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Put some money down on the Bruins coming back in this series, or on them winning the Stanley Cup. All you have to do is visit fanduel.com/lockedon to make every playoff shot count. And right now, you can get $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's over at fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. All right, there will be a Game 6 in this series, and it will be played on Friday night back in Boston. And that is extremely notable because Captain Brad Marchand was not able to play in Game 5, and that extra day of rest could come in very handy for Brad Marchand, who was able to travel to Florida. There was the clip of him being out there prior to the game, trying to pump the guys up, doing his chest bumps, fist pounds, and stuff like that. McAvoy, after the game, said having him around is awesome in any capacity. His presence means a lot to them. everything that he carries and what he means to the team. Having him on the trip was invaluable, and he was giving them life, positivity. They had his jersey hung in the stall. They know what he means to the group. They didn't want to say die. They wanted to see things go back to Boston to give him a chance to get right and hopefully be back. David Pastrnak added, "It's no fun to watch your team go to battle." But Marchand came in between every period, gave a little quick speech. He was there for them. They wanted to get him back in the series and keep extending the series. So very proud of the Bruins and Marchand as well. Morgan Geekie added, "He's a great captain. Everybody has a lot of respect for him in the room. Good to see him around the ice and happy to have him on the trip." Now, this comes amid ongoing conversations around the Sam Bennett hit. PK Subban was on Pardon the Interruption the other day or yesterday, saying it's a long time coming for Marchand, which is pretty gross to say, really. It doesn't, in my mind, yes, Brad Marchand has a checkered past. He has a history of dirty play, let's be honest. But at the same time, he's still a human being with a family, with children. He clearly is loved by his teammates, even Pat Maroon, who has every reason to dislike Brad Marchand, saying, you get to know this guy and you love him. You want to fight for him. And to say it's a long time coming, it's deserved. I don't wish that on anybody. Put your hockey fandom aside for a moment, embrace your own humanity, and see what we're actually talking about here. So hopefully Marchand can come back and play Game 6, make an impact. The Bruins were talking about, wanting to fight the Panthers, exact some revenge. The best revenge they can serve here is to eliminate this team from the playoffs. Just dispatch of the Florida Panthers and move on. That would be the best way for them to exact revenge in this series. I wanted to give a shout out to Morgan Geekie for a beautiful finish on that first goal of the night. Trent Frederick, Jake DeBrusk did have an assist last night as well, to keep the Bruins playoff hopes alive. Charlie Coyle led the way with 8 hits. He was in beast mode last night. Justin Brazeau with 7 hits. DeBrusk with 5. Parker Wotherspoon with 4 on the back end. It wasn't a perfect game for the Boston Bruins, but it was a near perfect road game for this team. They didn't allow them to score on the power play despite taking those 10 penalty minutes. The too many men just negates any possibility of it being a perfect game. But they had a 21-11 advantage in block shots. They only gave away the puck 11 times compared to 17 for the Panthers. And the Bruins did everything they needed to do to remain in this series, to remain in the playoffs. And hopefully they can carry it over to Game 6, which will be Friday night between the Panthers and the Bruins. A game we will fully preview on Friday. Hopefully we'll get someone on here in the next couple of days to help break down this series and whether or not the Bruins have a fighting chance. The odds are still against them, of course. According to Money Puck this morning, the Bruins have an 18.5% chance of advancing to the third round, only a 6.8% chance of advancing to the Stanley Cup final. But they're still alive. There's still a possibility, and it is not over until the handshake line occurs. Thank you so much for taking some time to listen today, friends. Go Bruins. Never say die, in the words of Charlie McAvoy, who came up big last night. And you're all coming up big with your support for Locked On Boston Bruins. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll talk to you again here tomorrow, because we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which means your team every single day.